So our next presenter is Gabor. Gabor is the LINSTOR lead developer and heads the team that develops the software-defined storage solution. Gabor is going to present on some exciting LINSTOR features that are in development. One of these is an enhancement to the LINSTOR autoplacer, and this will give you more control over where LINSTOR places resources. And the other is a new LINSTOR command that will make it easier to make mesh connections between LINSTOR satellite nodes. And with that, I will hand the microphone over to Gabor.
Thank you very much. I hope you can see my screen right now. Okay, so after this wonderful introduction, I guess I can jump right into the presentation. As already mentioned, I will talk about two different features of LINSTOR which are in development right now. One of them is how LINSTOR, or an additional option, how LINSTOR places resources, and the other one is how LINSTOR can or could connect DFD resources with each other, but we'll go into details right now for this. Okay. So let us consider following setup. We have 3 data centers with a few disk-full nodes in each of them. And for the very first step, we need to tell LINSTOR where these nodes are, more or less. So LINSTOR obviously have no location knowledge about these nodes. So we simply want a simple LINSTOR command, node set property. The DC property is an arbitrary property, which I just came up with for this presentation. So this has no special meaning within LINSTOR. It's just a property I made up literally. And we separate our nodes in the locations, so to say. So we tell LINSTOR where each of these nodes is. What LINSTOR currently supports is the replicas on different. Some of you might be already familiar with this, which if you run the command that is shown right here, LINSTOR will select one resource from each data center. This is the replicas on different, what this is configuring. However, what the users actually requested is that they want to have 2 replicas in one data center and, for example, 1 replicas in a second data center, or more complicated combinations. But right now we tried to solve this problem or this request from the users. So we basically took the old replicas from different command and extended it. We had to rename or additionally name a second option called X replicas on different, which has now 2 parameters, for one the aux/DC as previously, but additionally also the number of how many resources can be placed in one of these data centers. So in this case 2, which unsurprisingly gives us exactly the solution which we were looking for. If we, just for to give you a few more examples, if we play around with the parameters shown here, if we, for example, increase the place count to 4, we will get a second replica in the already selected data center. So LINSTOR is not allowed in this case to choose a third data center because we configured it that it is allowed to choose 2 replicas per data center. So it first has to fill up these groups before it is allowed to choose a new group, so to say. But if we increase even further the place count to 5, LINSTOR has no other option. It has to choose the third data center. On the other hand, if we now play with the new parameter, if we increase the X replicas on different to 3, LINSTOR now is again forced to use already 2 of the already selected data centers. So we end up in this scenario. All right, that was quite brief, but this X replicas on different is, of course, combinable with every other existing autoplay setting. So it is just another tool in the toolbox for the autoplacer. And this whole feature is all about, just to briefly reiterate, to tell LINSTOR what nodes to select when you want to place resources, which I wanted to highlight here because the next feature, the path mesh, is a very different feature where we are talking about DABD connections between nodes. So no nodes are selected here, but we are talking about the connections between those nodes. I just wanted to make this clear. All right, so let us consider the following setup. We have 3 nodes. Right now we have only one data center. We will go into an example later on where we have more than one data center, but for now, let's stick with one. The lines here represent the DABD connections. So if we run a cat command, most of us should be quite familiar with the DABD res file. This whole path mesh feature is dealing with this connection blocks here and how to generate them, how to differently generate them, and what we can do with it. In case you're wondering how LINSTOR gets to these IP addresses, at the time when you run the LINSTOR node create command, the client is resolving the hostname, gets the IP address, so that LINSTOR can automatically create you this default net interface for you. And if you don't specify anything else, LINSTOR will use this network interface for controller to satellite communication, as well as for DABD replication, which is something that you might not want. It's fine, so it works. It's not a problem, but you might want to use a dedicated network for DABD replication. All right. So to make things more interesting, our goal is to actually have 2 replication links between all 3 nodes. This goal is currently achievable using the node connection paths. It sounds similar, but this is not the path mesh, this new feature. This is not the new feature called path mesh, sondern this already exists, but it has a problem, which I will come to later on, but I just wanted to show you how it is currently doable or achievable. So first of all, we need to create new network interfaces in LINSTOR. For each node, these 2 commands need to be run, which gives us the following interface list. This actually also addresses the issue that I was talking earlier. We now have the first default network, which LINSTOR will use for controller to satellite communication. And we give LINSTOR new tools to use the NIC1 and NIC2 network interface for DABD replication. Good. The next command is actually quite a lot of commands, because for each pairs of nodes, we need to run these 2 commands, which does work. So this is the resulting resource file, which is exactly what we wanted. However, the problem is that with 2 replication links, for 3 nodes, we need 6 node connection path commands, for 12, and so on. And I'm pretty sure you can see that this scales quite badly. We have customers with a few hundreds of nodes, so you can run the math, but this does not look good. Okay, so what is the new method, the new upcoming feature for this problem? We start with the same setup. We still need to tell LINSTOR what interfaces to use. We will not get around of that. But next, we will only need 2 commands. So this is for each path mesh, not for each pairs of nodes, and not just for 2 path meshes. Just run these 2 commands, and you're basically done. By default, path mesh creates a full mesh from all participating nodes. So you will basically get exactly in this scenario what we tried to achieve. These are some of the options we are currently planning for the path mesh client. There might come more options, I'm not sure. As I said, this is still in development, but these are the ones that make sense that I will also demonstrate the first 2 of them in 2 quick examples. But yeah, the main thing of this path mesh is that it starts with a full mesh, and these options which are shown here are used to limit this full mesh to exclude certain connections to have more control about what kind of mesh LINSTOR should generate. So as I said, let us consider two examples. For the first example, we have a very simple setup with 2 worker nodes or diskless nodes and 4 storage nodes. Again, we have to tell LINSTOR how we differentiate between these two types of nodes. Again, the type property has no real meaning in LINSTOR. It's just an arbitrary property that I came up with. Next, as I also mentioned, we need to tell LINSTOR the interfaces, what LINSTOR can use. And next is the one option for the path mesh create, which is the path between different aux/type, which tells LINSTOR to only create connections between 2 nodes with different types. So between diskless and disk-full types, but not between 2 disk-full types. That's the reason why the connections at the bottom of the picture are missing. Those we can create with the other option, the path between same. So in this case, we have told LINSTOR to use the access network interface for, well, accessing the data from the diskless point of view, and use the replication network interface, well, you have guessed, for the replication itself. So this is a quite easy way to separate different networks for your setup. Let us consider real quick a second example. Now we do have 2 data centers. Again, we have to start similarly to tell LINSTOR where these data centers are. And again, we do this path between same, which, sorry, I forgot to mention, all of these 6 nodes are disk-full nodes in this case. So by us telling LINSTOR to create a full mesh, path between same means that it creates 2 full meshes within each data center. This is also what we see right now. And the next command basically tells to, well, generate the opposite of this full mesh. So path mesh 1 and path mesh 2 combined does create a full mesh. So it does not really look that useful, this example, unless we want this additional command that we tell that this path mesh 2 should run protocol A, which means that the ABD will replicate within the data center in protocol C and across 2 data centers with protocol A, which is also something that some of our customers actually asked. And that's basically already sums it up. So thank you for your attention. Are there any questions?
Thanks, Gabor. And yeah, we'll now open the meeting floor to anybody that might want to ask Gabor a question.
I have a question.
Sure.
Hi Gabor. So can you share your screen again with the X different X replicas on different command, and can you show me what if I want to have 2 replicas on 3 data centers across? So every data center should have 2 replicas.
So something like this, but with an additional blue node, right?
Yes, that's correct. Is that possible?
Yeah, sure. And the only thing you need to do is to change the shown command to place count 6.
Okay. So when you change the place count to 6, it will create 2 copy on data center 1, 2 on data 2, okay, and data 3.
Exactly.
Okay.
So
Okay,
what
that's
parameter, this orange shown parameter 2 tells LINSTOR that every group, and by group I mean data center group, is allowed to be have a size of 2 at maximum. And if I tell LINSTOR to create 6 replicas in groups of 2, then it has no other option than to create exactly what you are asking for.
Okay, okay. Okay, yeah, cool. Pretty neat. Thank you.
Yeah, very, very cool. We did have a question come into our YouTube broadcast, and that is, do you have any plans for a feature where someone would be able to control where tiebreakers are placed?
Yes, we have some sort of control over that because the autoplay LINSTOR's autoplacer distinguishes between the set of storage pools and the set of diskless storage pools. And the tiebreaker obviously looks only into the diskless storage pools. So this is a little bit of control, but for more detailed control, we do have some thoughts, but nothing concretely planned for the near future.
Okay, thank you for that answer. Unless there are other questions, not seeing anything in the meeting chat. Oh,
I think
there's a
Brian
question
has.
from Brian.
Yeah, Brian had his hand raised.
I cannot hear you, Brian.
There we
You're
go.
on
How about
mute.
now?
Yes.
So on the X place replica count, when you had changed it to 5, it put 3 in the one day in Paris, instead it took the one out of Vienna. Is there an option to like say that you want as equal split as possible? So like on that, like if you said place count 5 replica on different 3, and perhaps this is my misunderstanding of the command, but if it were me, I think I would rather have an extra copy in a different data center, right? For redundancy.
Right, I see what you're asking, but right now what the best you can do is to leave it like this. So to keep this X replica on different OXDC on 2, which means that again the maximum group size is 2. So it's either filled
Okay.
up, or to be more technical, there is only one group allowed that is not completely filled up. It's a little bit mathematical, but it describes the approach the best, I think.
Okay, yeah, that helps. Thank you.
Okay.